guys, welcome back to the garage. So pretty much as you guys seen in the last video, we installed the SR headlights on the EK sedan and pretty much the moving wing onto the sedan. Quite frankly, a lot of you guys actually showed a lot of interest in actually trying to learn a little bit more about the XSI, my right hand drive Integra, or not my XSI, my ZXi. A lot of people has mistaken that car for being an XSI, which is the reason why I came up right now. And unfortunately, this car is not an XSI model. This car is actually a ZXi model. And everybody always thinks that these cars are only from 90 through a 93, as it was here in California or the US, where in fact these cars were actually produced a few years before that and a few years after that, which makes this vehicle actually in 1989 Honda Integra. It is not an Acura, it's still the same specs as a USDM one pretty much, but the major differences between this one and the XSI is that the XSI actually has a B16 engine, and where in fact on my car it actually has a single cam. This car has a single cam ZC engine with a single cam ZC LSD transmission. No, it is not the dual cam ZCs that you see or you've heard of. This is actually the single cam one that is offered basically in Japan. So also, let me show you guys what this engine looks like. Guys, let me show you guys the engine now. So here we have, lo and behold, the single cam ZC engine. Quite frankly, this car and this engine actually pulls the weight of this car pretty well, and it catches speed pretty good. This is the same swap it came with from factory. This is the original engine to this car, same engine to the cluster of this car that we did end up sourcing in Japan from the original owner that I bought this car from. Thank God he still had the headlights and the cluster, because they did put everything to a USDM spec when I first got the car. And when I first got the car, pretty much it was on blown suspension, and honestly the hood was clear coat was peeling. It was peeling on the mirrors also, and it had USDM taillights, and it also had the USDM cluster. It didn't have no visors on it, nothing with JDM on the car anymore. It was basically all converted to a USDM spec right hand drive Integra. So when the car did come, or when I did purchase it in Japan, like I said, I had my homie Tomo pretty much do a lot of maintenance to the car. He ended up pretty much shortening the knuckles on this vehicle and pretty much putting new wheels and tires on it, because I wanted to do a lot of the work in Japan instead of having to pay for every single part to show up. So the car lasted about 6 months in Japan after I bought it, give or take, because it was also during COVID time. So when COVID hit, pretty much it stopped a lot of transportation through the ports and everything else, especially coming from Japan because of the whole COVID situation. So the car ended up staying over there about 7 to 8 months, where in that time period, we ended up pretty much sourcing a lot of the parts for this car, because it was missing the moldings, taillights, headlights, cluster, all the visors, and pretty much some of the interior pieces, which wasn't nothing major or anything like that stuff. It was just basically the steering wheel setup and stuff like that. But we did end up pretty much sourcing everything, and I had my homie over there pretty much swap everything out. Thank God that the old owner had the headlights for the vehicle still, where I then just traded them back because he wanted to keep the headlights anyways. So it worked out to my benefit at the end of the day. But when the car did come, I didn't notice that the cluster was still USDM. So later on, I did reach out to them, my homie Tomo in Japan, telling them if he can help me find a cluster, where he then ended up talking to the old owner and found out that the owner still had the cluster. So we ended up basically swapping the clusters also. We ended up swapping the moldings here in California. He just threw them in the trunk. There was actually a lot more stuff in the car, but unfortunately when it did hit the ports, I'm not sure where it happened, but I was robbed. A lot of the port people, they don't care, they'll take anything, and I was robbed for the gather rear speaker setup, the hanging speakers. I pretty much put a full sound system into the car and subwoofers and everything, and I was jacked. Nothing I can do about it. I fought with the port about it, but at the end of the day, they didn't give two shits about it, and unfortunately I had to stop crying about it, right? So that was a loss for me at the end of the day. So again, difference between the two cars is that braking power and engine. Now the XSI is a B16, and that has a bigger brakes, where this one has a smaller braking stopping power. So what I ended up doing to this car was pretty much putting on a big brake kit, where I adapted Mini Cooper rotors slotted rotors and ITR calipers, along with Honda Accord brake pads, if I'm not mistaken. I really don't know what brake pads they were because they were a part of a kit that I had purchased when I purchased the car. A car that I was gonna part out a few months before the car arrived. It was a coupe that had a bunch of parts, and I bought it basically for the swap and everything because I wanted to put that swap in here. But things ended up happening and my whole plan switched, and I pretty much parted out that other car and got rid of everything. But I did end up utilizing the big brake kit, which is on the car now, and I'll tell you guys now, this car stops. Even though it doesn't need it, because there isn't really major power to this engine. It's a single cam, right? But I guarantee you this car moves for being a single cam, ZC, non-VTEC, and not even tuned, nothing. No chipped ECU, none of that, nada. So at the end of the day, car runs perfect. It is my daily driver. I do drive it back and forth to school. I used to drive it back and forth to work. I drive it every single weekend almost when I go to car shows, go to car meets, hang out with the homies. It is my cruiser, just like as you guys seen. My wife drives her Domani every single day. I'd rather drive my cars and then drive my gas guzzlers in there. So now let me go ahead and show you guys a little bit of the interior. As far as the interior goes, all I've ever done to the car is put NARTI steering wheel, NARTI shift knob, fast line shifter, and NRG quick release setup. And it does have Kenwood light up speakers in the back, where those turn on with the headlights. They light up blue. They used to light up green, but the LEDs in them messed up, so I had to replace them, and they are bluish now. But they do light up in the night when you turn on the headlights, and they're also signal indicators to turn left or right or your hazards. So let me go ahead and show you guys the interior, and let me know what you guys think of it so far. So then there you guys go. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that little B-roll of the interior, the outside of the vehicle, and everything else. As far as my future plans for this car, I really don't have anything. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. My future plans are maybe really subtle if I do end up keeping the car. I don't know if the car is gonna stay or if it's gonna go in the future, as I'm not predicting that yet. But if the car does stay, I have 3 things that I really want to do to the car. I do want to swap the car to a full B-Series engine. I do either want to go at LS VTEC or a GSR, or possibly what is a USDM spec GSR, the B17. If I don't, then I'll go ahead and try to see if I can either just run LS VTEC, B20 VTEC with a pretty much built motor and everything else. Even though this car is not going to be made for racing, or if any of that stuff is done, it's not going to be raced or any of that stuff. It's basically for show purposes and stuff like that for when I go to shows. Other than that, it's basically swap out my wheels. Mainly just to swap out my wheels. I really want to put on my homie's wheels that I ended up sourcing in Japan a few months ago. Thank God my homie that in Japan knew the person that still had them, and he actually gave them back to me at 0 cost, because I do want to restore them. I do want to put them onto this car. I think that wheel would actually fit this car very well. There's gonna have to be some changes done to it in order for me to rock those wheels, and I am gonna have to run a stretch tire, and unfortunately I will probably have to get rid of my lip, and I'll just have to run an OEM spec lip. Other than that, it's mainly paint the car 100% all over again. Because when I did get the car had a bunch of clear coat peeling off the hood and on the mirrors, and there is minor imperfections. There is some rust on the hood. Even though I did fix the hood, I did body work onto it, it is not 100% perfect. You can tell that there is sand marks in the primer still before laying the paint. You know, there's all that stuff. Where in fact, I did that on purpose because I didn't want the hood to stand out more than what the rest of the body was. Because if I would have did that, after painting it, the hood would have stood out a lot more than what it does now. And it actually flows with the character of the car being the way it is, because the paint is nowhere near perfect. I ended up painting the mirrors, I ended up painting the lip the same way because I felt like that would match the characteristic of the car, because it's not a full respray. And I only mainly did it because we had that big old show coming up a few months back, and that's where I took it to, and that was basically the only real show that I really wanted to attend, and I put so much energy into it. But again, it was never to do it perfect. It was just to get it passing by and be able to daily it again without having that clear coat ugly peeling of the hood. But again, guys, I think this is pretty much where we're going to end the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and if you guys did, please like, subscribe, and share the video, and let me know what you guys thought about it. So on the next video, you guys will see me pretty much getting down on the intercooler setup with the EK all-wheel drive sedan, and also see what the new wheels look like for it, because we did swap the wheels. So stay tuned, and again, guys, please like, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Till next time, guys.
I'm changing who I am. I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life, and I won't look